I'd like to welcome all of you to another one of our co-founder trainings. And we were just got done playing our big event video for our event coming up on Wednesday, April 2nd. We had a similar event when we launched the $100 coin. So let me share my screen here. You can watch a little piece of history here. Going to the YouTube channel. Let me find it here about 3 months ago. There it is. So PFS Rally, December 6th, 2024. So PFS Rally, just look for that chart there. Okay. And we're bound to experience something very similar to this, although I would not be surprised, although I'm not completely expecting it, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit our target on our new coin of $4 million per coin. The supply is extremely tight and should be easy for us to pump it all the way, very quickly. Let's see here. Now, you'll have an opportunity to start with about $5. Okay. So in that video explains that if you 4,000x $5, that's $20,000, right? How many of you be excited if you come to an event, put $5 to work, and by the end of the event, it's worth $20,000? How many of you be excited about that?
Oh
I'd be
yeah.
very excited.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
everybody.
that kind of
Yeah, I
potential.
could handle that.
That's the kind of potential we're talking about here. So let me share my screen again. Let's jump into the charts here. Um, Before I go there, I want to go here first. Let's go to the account page. So basically, if you come down here and take a look at where things are. So we know that the PFI coin is going to go to a price of $500,000. That is our price target right now. Our price target for the PFB coin is $1 million, and the price target for our PFS coin is $2 million. And we'll be launching our last coin for the $1,000 pool, and its price target will be 4 million. Okay, so if we extrapolate what that would look like down here, that would probably look like 4,000x, right? So to beginning at 4,000x, and when you go into Pancake Swap, um, that's basically where you're going to be doing your trading. Most likely you have struggles if you try to do it through MetaMask alone. And I want to thank Hunter for helping people prepare and train for this the last couple of days. He actually recorded the meeting yesterday where people were practicing and use on the PFI coin. So I'll share the chart on that in a minute. But let me have Hunter talk a little bit about the PF, the Pancake Swap trading that we did yesterday. What was recorded.
Right, so on that call, it was almost a 2 hour call, and we actually went over a lot of swapping with Pancake Swap. I demonstrated how to use it and how to add the PFI token, which of course is transferable to any other token. You put in the contract address into Pancake Swap, and then you can add it as a token to swap to. And after I demonstrated that, I then had anyone else who was interested get on screen and swap some themselves. And if I recall correctly, we actually ended up having two people swap $100 worth to PFI, if I recall correctly. And over time, over the 2 hours of that meeting, we actually pumped the price of PFI by over $1,000.
Yeah, I think
It
it was
started
30,
around,
about 33.10 when it started, right?
yeah, that sounds about right. And it ended at well over $4,000,
Yeah. In fact, let's take a look
somewhere
at the
around,
chart right now. You open that up.
it ended somewhere around 4,500. So
And I think some
pretty
people
successful, I'd
got
say.
surprised by it. They were surprised to see that it's right now we're at $4,441 on this version 2 of Pancake Swap software. Okay. So basically the trading started right about here and then went up to there. So look at the version 3 as well. Yes, here it says 45. Let's just double check that. Nope, it's 43. 43.91
It's like
at the
35,
moment.
40%. 35%.
Yeah, it's gone up a lot and and I think that's what surprised people is that how quickly it went up with so little money. It wasn't like people were throwing thousands of dollars into practice, right? It was just
Right, right.
a few $100. Most people did, 10, 20, $15 thing like that. And then you can watch that video. You want to put the link to that video into the chat here
Sure
on
thing.
Zoom.
Let me just grab that.
Now, what we recommend is that people they practice between BNB and USDT. You can go to Pancake Swap and you can go back and forth between BNB and USDT, right? Flip it back and forth and just get practice being fast because this is gonna be like the 10-yard dash. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to that starting gate, when I provide that contract address, when you know what to do with that contract address and you're fast on executing a trade, say at $5, the people that do it the fastest are going to get the most because $5 is going to move the price. $10 is going to move the price more. $15 is going to move the price even more, and so on. So there's going to be significant movement even with that small amount of money. And that's why I said that I don't really expect it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we actually hit our price target of $4 million during the rally on Tuesday.
So what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It means a store of wealth that people will have, it's gonna, just think about whatever you gain, you know, at the rally and you hold on to that until you become a co-founder, get your co-founder bonus, then it'll be 10 times that, right?
You mean on Wednesday, not
What?
Tuesday?
Someone's talking, but really choppy. Who is talking?
Yeah, that's Susan. Susan, you're coming in really choppy.
Say again.
You mean Wednesday, not Tuesday, correct?
It's going to be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? On April 2nd. So for those in the East, like myself, that's April 3rd. It'll be, the morning time for us, evening time for those in New York time, right? So I kind of based the community, the whole global community on New York time or Eastern Standard Time, so we're all on the same page when we say when something's going to happen, then you just adjust yourself to that time. For me, it's a 12-hour difference. Thursday morning for me, while it's Wednesday night for those in the US. Hope that clears it up for you, Susan. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you can do about your connection to make it better, but it's really not going to be easy to hear you with it being that choppy. Okay, moving on. So yeah. So just picture in your mind what we're doing here. Okay. You have a big event. You show up to the event. You throw whatever you can. If you can't afford $5, then even pool funding probably can't help you out. You know what I'm saying? So, you put what you can into this. Uh, like I said, if you're fortunate and you do well in the race, it's gonna be a bit of a race, right? And you end up enjoying a 4,000x return. That's gonna be cool. A 3,000x return on $5 would be $15,000. A 2,000x return on a $5 would be $10,000. So it's still pretty big numbers, right? But not everybody's going to, be able to grab that 4,000x. It's going to move from that point away from that point very quickly. And then, so you do a trade, maybe your first trade you do for $5, maybe the second trade you do for $6, so on and so on. And you just try to accumulate as much of the coin as you can. And then that's your pile of coin, And then a year later, when you've achieved the co-founder bonus for that pile of coin, you get 10 times more, an additional pile of coin on top of that, right? So I always like saying, picture you had one coin, and when you get the bonus, you get 10 more coins, so now you have 11 coin, right? So if, for example, you succeeded at on this particular event, capturing that 4,000 deal, and you spent $5 on getting $20,000, and then a year later, after you got your co-founder bonus, the co-founder bonus just on that 20,000 would be 200,000, right? So imagine that $5 leveraged into 20, which becomes 220,000. That's what we're talking about. It's huge leverage. Hope that's really clear to everyone why the event's so big.
Earth shattering.
Okay, and so if we kind of take a look at where we're currently sitting with our coin, so that takes care of the new coin, but we have obviously we've got the PFI coin, it's at 4,400 roughly. So if we go to the chart here, that puts us between 125x and 100x, right? Because 5,000 is 100x, and 4,000 is at 125. But the price of the coin. So this is the price column here. Okay, price column. That's how you read it. And so we're at 4,400. So this might be, with 4,400, I don't know. It might be more like 110x at the moment right now. Okay. And if we go into PFB, that's at 23,000, we'll say. Okay, 23,000 at the moment. And back to the chart here. So we take PFB here, go down to, there's 20. 20 is 50 times. 25 is 40 times. So maybe we're looking at something like 45x right now, something like that. Okay. And then if we take a look at PFS, okay, that's currently sitting at 44,000. Okay. So if you take PFS here, we go to 40,000, that's 50x, 45,000. Is it 44? Let's take a look here. 44 is closer to that 45 there. So it's a lot closer to this 44. So maybe it's right on 45 or 46, X, right? So that's currently where your opportunities are. And later on, once we hit our price targets, we're going to be talking about, 2x, 3x ongoing from that point forward. Okay. You're not going to see huge opportunities like this ever again.
It's another great night.
So yeah, so take advantage of the window you have. You have a window to maximize your co-founder bonus a lot right now with all of the coins. And the event's open to member and non-member alike. So it might be a good way to introduce people to pool funding and say, hey, I want you to come to this event and watch how crazy this is.
That's what I was thinking.
Just say, hey, even $5 might get you something you'd be happy with, so come and play with us. But at the end of the day, if they really get, anybody we're sharing this with, they come to understand what we're really doing is it's more of a long game when it comes to accumulating coin, right? We don't want to just buy and then get right out, Although when you look at cryptocurrency in general, um, uh, especially in the meme coin arena, it's the opposite. It's just how fast can you get out, you know? Although your staple, your coins that are playing the long game because they have something special to offer, including Bitcoin. But there are others, some I mentioned names like Cardano, Solana. There's different coins, even Ethereum, in BNB, Binance. These coins are, definitely more longer term thing, and they've got, great advantages with the tech that they've developed with it. And those are the buy and kind of hold coins. But most coins are, you know, they're just going to be one hit wonders. You know what I'm saying? Like 99% of crypto is made up of one hit wonders. They have their one little pump, and if you're on the pump, you might make some money with it. And then after that, it's like we'll see. But pool funding is not going to be among those one hit wonders, because our strategy is to, keep the supply low in the market so that we maintain high prices, so that we distribute these coins through, people, they buy the coin through the website, right? They pay their sponsor 100% of that, okay? And that goes on for decades, right? That's what we want. That makes sense, guys?
Yes.
So it's a long
Yes.
game. We're in the long game, and our interest is in cash flow, using a very, desirable wealth creation model to draw people into giving us cash flow, and in turn hook them into cash flow as well, and kind of rinse and repeat. So that's the direction we're going. To kind of help some of you out, we have had some people take advantage of our offer to provide paid signups. I know it hasn't been anything, as fast as I ever wanted it to go, but we are making some pretty good progress. I've had Maria and Zyrene on the front lines of actually contacting, by telephone, the people in North America that have opted in. So I've asked Zyrene to be here. Hello, Zyrene. Can you give us a little
Hello,
feedback,
sir.
especially most recent? I think you were telling me something about today. I mean, what was it like today? And you're making calls, and how's it going with the lead generation and paid
All
sign?
right. Good morning, everyone. I just want to update you on our recent if effort and progress. And over the weeks, we've been consistently making 50 calls a day with Maria. And out of these calls, I had the opportunity to speak earlier with four live individuals that actually showed interest. And from that interactions, one of them has been successfully onboarded. So we're not just focusing on making these calls, but also ensuring that every lead is properly nurtured and converted into referral. And we are putting a significant effort into ensuring all the orders are being fulfilled efficiently. And more importantly, we're working to turn each successful engagement into potential referral. So yeah, we will continue to build this momentum, fine-tuning our approach and aiming for more successful onboardings and referrals in coming weeks. So
Good
yes, boss.
report. So professional. All right, thank you for your very professional report, and that's uplifting and helpful information. Um, you know, I'm still trying to figure out what's going to work best, because here's what we're running into as they're making calls. Something like 80% of the phone numbers they call, they are not able to, connect with a human. They're getting voicemail, or they're getting
Yeah.
a full voicemail box and they can't leave a voicemail, right? Or they're getting a thing that the voicemail's not set up yet. So that's what they're running into 80% of the time, and that's a little bit concerning to me, you know. And I'm starting to rethink how I want to do this, because I thought maybe we just call these people, because what we are finding is that people hear the voicemail message, because we've crafted a very special message, kind of like, hey, you're leaving money on the table, like $500, and you should probably get your butt back into our website to pick up that money. I can help you do that, kind of voicemail, and so we know the people that actually listen to the voicemail, there's a good chance that they will actually, contact. Like I said, it's been mostly Maria and Zyrene that have been doing the calls, and I'm just testing things with those two for now. But eventually we'll have a 24/7 operation. But in my mind's eye, I'm thinking, well, they're on our website. We could actually have a real person on the website live, like, that they can, talk to. That's, and so I'm thinking about, they, click to talk to a human, and then boom, the video's already on, so there's, I'm looking into that, because the phone thing may actually be a deterrent. If we can just
I think that's a great idea, Ace.
yeah, if we can just engage them the moment they're near, something drew them over to the website, we can just engage them at that same moment. You know what I'm saying? You like that, Gregory, huh?
Yeah, I like that a lot because, even though there's not a lot of delay you're doing in calling them, I think while you have them, you need to capture them.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, most opportunities don't even put any attention on this, and I hadn't either with the previous opportunities I've rolled out. I haven't been involved in trying to help you guys get your signups done, but kind of felt like there was kind of a need for it today, and been exploring how to do it, right? So it's been a trial and error exploration, and it hasn't gone anywhere close to what I thought. But our intent is very clear. Our efforts are clear. We spent more money than we've taken in to do this, guys. Okay. So just so you know. All right. So there's no greed here. Okay. When it comes to trying to take people's money and give them nothing in return. Quite the opposite. Just trying to figure this out because we want to have a situation where we can have explosive growth, right? So let's just say that is what we're out to get. And one way or another, we want to create that explosive growth. And we want sustained explosive. We don't want to just a burst, and then that's the only time we ever had explosive growth. We can point to a graph and say, on this particular set of time, we had explosive growth, and then there was never anything after that. No, we want to create a situation where the explosive growth just goes on until it basically gets to the point where everybody has heard about what we're doing, and it's either in or out, And then as we get bigger and bigger, we just make what we do better and better, and legit, legal, blah 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 blah. All that stuff that people are concerned about, and everything's perfect. But we're still in the formation process. So speaking of formation, I want to read to you the terms and conditions of joining pool funding. I'm going to be putting this on the website right away. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me make this bigger for my eyeballs. Okay. I'll just read it to you. By joining pool funding, you accept the following terms and conditions. At this time, we are within the formation process of privately inviting people to become co-founders. As co-founders that remain active by making daily purchases of pool funding coins through our system on our website, we in turn get 100% commissions from our direct referrals, as their payments made on our website are directed to the wallets of each sponsor respectively. Coins purchased through this system on our website will season for 90 days and then be distributed to the owner's wallet on the 91st day, given transaction fees are provided by the owner. Since we are within the formation process, we are gathering co-founders and having private discussions among ourselves as to the direction of a formal entity, structure, and jurisdiction. Therefore, each of us at this time participate at our own risk and agree to hold harmless the creators of this website for liabilities that may or may not occur. For now, all co-founders are recognized as either a living man or living woman, and not as a person under the law. In a sense, all co-founders share in the ownership of what is developing within this pool funding opportunity. Okay. Is that pretty clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because that is
Absolutely.
what we're doing. I think I pretty much covered what matters, right?
Right.
I'd say so.
And it
I'd
ain't
like to
this
say,
it ain't this 5-page legal document, that no one's going to read anyway. So, but eventually we'll probably end up with a 5-page legal document that people won't read anyway. But for now,
Mhm.
the truth of the matter is that there's something called lawful and there's something called legal, and they're not necessarily the same thing. They can be, but they're not necessarily the same thing. Okay. Legal just means that you are registered with some sort of man authority, some sort of like a government, like man-made authority. Okay. But to be lawful is to do that which, is, right, and good, and the idea of do no harm, right? So basically, if you operate your life doing no harm, you're operating your life in a lawful manner. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And within that lawful manner, we can collect together, we can have private conversations, can't we?
I'd
yes,
say so.
And certainly what goes on in our bedrooms, that should be our own business, not somebody else's, right?
Yes.
So there's a need for privacy, is my point. And so when in private settings, we're able to spitball and throw things around and come up with ideas together, and that's how innovation happens, right?
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We're innovating an
Yeah.
idea because our intent is to relieve mankind of this idea that they need to spend all their time chasing money.
Yeah. Love that.
Okay, how do we accomplish that? Well, we have to have some kind of a system inserted in there, right? That anyone could participate and take advantage of, and let the system do most of the work, when it comes to, creating some cash flow, and then your participation within the system is so small that you have all the time in the world afterwards to use your time as you wish, right? Which is really everybody that desires financial freedom. That's really why they desire financial freedom, right?
That's right.
You got people walking around saying they want to be financially free. What they're really trying to say is they would much rather prefer having a life where they can spend their time how they want to spend their time, and not in some kind of a, you know,
45-year career.
unnecessary use of their time and energy. Okay. I mean, you really think about, you're on your deathbed and you're looking back over your life. You're not thinking about, how hard you worked. I don't think. Am I right about that? But
right.
you might be spending more time thinking about, the relationships that mattered, like maybe with your spouse and your children.
What you missed.
You know,
What you missed.
the things that brought you the most joy.
Yeah.
And so honestly, if we're doing this the right way, if humans do it the right way, then humans are always spending their time and energy on things that bring them joy. Then we know we're doing it the right way. But if we do anything opposite of that, then we can expect, to have like misery be the outcome, right? So the system, and I like to call it the matrix, okay, that's been overlaid over humanity, has got us all, like focused on stuff that don't matter, while sacrificing things that do. and pool funding, and my intent as a creator of it is to find a path, and I don't claim to be the know-it-all, so I'm open to groupthink. So, but we want to get to the end point of actually creating a system that allows mankind to, properly exist. Because I don't think we exist properly at this point. I'm looking at how big of a mess everything is right now. and all this undue stress that's, directly or indirectly associated with finance. And it's like, geez, is it really supposed to be like that? And then you scratch your head and you look at a system where quite literally the system that most people have basically been catering to, or been focusing on, the system creates money out of thin air, quite literally. Ever
Prince
since
it.
1971, it's been changed from like being backed by gold, right, to being
Fiat.
backed by confidence.
Mm.
And then you look at a lot of the wars that we've had in the last 20 years is because they've been consolidating so that everything operates under one system. When you look deeper at why we're having these wars, it's been moving towards one system, even though it may, the puppets to show up differently. It may say the rhetoric may not say so, but if you look closely at the result, everything's been operating on one system, and now they want to reset that system. And in that reset, they want to get involved in your body. Okay. It's very serious. I'm very concerned about where the system is going. Okay. And that they don't just look at you and me as living men and living women, but they see us as, the proper word is chattel. We're just chattel to the system, So knowing all that and having researched it and having spent a great deal of my life concerned about it, and even even in my private life in small social settings, I'm talking about these kind of things. This is how much it matters to me. So I'm not just on a pulpit talking about it, but it's an ongoing thing. Even in my private thoughts when I'm sitting here all alone, I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about how humanity's been consumed by this really what people might refer to as the Babylonian money magic system, okay, because it goes all the way back to that time. And when you understand, the intent of it, it ain't good for you and I, okay? And
No.
you and I'd be much better if we didn't have to be concerned about any of this unnecessary stuff, and we could just spend our lives in the pursuit of joy and just do that which makes sense at the individual level to pursue that. For some it might be pursuing music, others might be in some sort of an art form of, other than music.
Homesteading.
Some might be more interested in the sciences, but they wouldn't do it necessarily because they're trying to get a paycheck, but they're doing it because that's
That's what they love.
that's what lights them up. It's what brings them joy.
Huh.
And that's really as it should be. But how do we get there? And as long as humanity's bogged down into the what I call the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and they're taking that away too, by the way. So pretty soon there won't be a paycheck. There's going to be, if we let the system have its way, in place of a paycheck will be what they call a universal basic income check. Okay, so they're not even paying you to work. They're just paying you to exist. And trust me, they're not going to value your existence. Okay. They're not going to, it ain't going to be
Right.
it ain't going to be a luxury economy. Okay. So knowing that this is the direction where we're heading anyway, and we're trying to come up with a solution, and we offer 100% commission here. So obviously the intent here is to, give you guys a leg up on your own life. And as much as you can shoulder that yourself, that'd be great. You know what I'm saying? But I'm shouldering as much as I can, and they've got a small staff here helping me out, and they're helping to shoulder it. But at the end of the day, we each need to look to ourselves and say, what can I do better here as well? And just, know that I'm, as the creator founder, there's so many moving parts to this thing, I can't put my attention on one moving part all the time. I have to shift and shuffle and be aware of everything. And yeah. So I hesitate to beat myself up too much because I know I'm doing a pretty good effort, and I feel good about the effort even though I'm not happy with the current results. So
That's going to change.
Is that fair? So then I'm
Yes, sir.
just trying to tell you guys how it is, and that's
Appreciate it.
an honest speak. Yeah, I appreciate your interaction, Jeffrey. You're being very interactive. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Little sounding board there. Anybody want to share their thoughts on what I've just said and have their point of view? Is anybody opposed where I'm coming from? I'm open to hearing that as well, you know.
Not at all. It's enlightening.
Why do you say it's enlightening, Willie?
Because that's for the people who haven't heard those things before.
Okay, yeah.
You know, that's
There might be a couple.
But you're not one of them, huh? You've heard of these things before.
I'm not one of them. I am not.
So you're glad someone's saying it out loud, right? Like me. You have
Yeah.
the courage to do it, right?
Yeah, say it and unfettered, uncut,
Yeah,
straight to the point.
yeah, there it is. No, thank you. Thank you.
Living means that that's maritime law it came from, was it not?
Your Australian's coming through loud and clear, but I couldn't make out what you were saying. Go again.
I've got my headphones in today. Maritime law.
Oh, maritime law. That, yeah,
There we go.
Yep.
Oh man, he's speaking the language.
yeah, yeah. Which really favors the pirate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The individual.
Getting that booty, you know, and the bounty. It's true. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's where booty comes from. Yeah.
that's why when you walk into a courtroom, they got a bar, right? That's why they call it a citizenship.
That's right.
Court.
Okay? The sea of commerce, right?
Like the job. Just enough.
Yeah. Anyway, it's man-made BS. Okay. And if you want to take it deeper than that, you can maybe say it's demonic BS. You know. So yeah. And you know, we're creatures, you know, if you get rid of all the BS, we're pretty cool creatures when you look at what we are, you know. And understand the multidimensionality of what we are, you know, and understand that we have access to some stuff that we have hard time believing we have access to. I mean, people will shortchange themselves, or they will be short-sighted on just what they can and can't do because someone else told them they can't, right? If you're told something long enough, you start to believe in it. But when you start changing your beliefs, one of the reasons I became a millionaire is because I changed my belief. Okay. Some of you haven't done that step yet. And believe me, until you do that step, you won't be a millionaire. At some point, you have to take the step of believing you're going to be a millionaire. Until you believe it's going to happen, it ain't going to happen. Okay. The sooner you take the step, the better. Belief is a big thing. But being a millionaire is nothing to compare to the stuff I'm looking at. Like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to be this and I want to be that. Some of the stuff I'm looking at, the millionaire thing looks pretty small by comparison. What I'm shooting for, you know what I'm saying? But most of you aren't ready for that conversation. But happy to talk to anybody one-on-one about such things if you'd like to, you know, fill me out on that in that arena. All right, Ken, buddy, get your hand up. Thanks for your participation. What's up?
Hey, speaking of creatures, are you familiar with the creature from Jekyll Island?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's kind of the current system we're in. We're still under that particular version of it, more or less, outside of the fact that they stripped away the gold backing. So, but we're still under that creature of Jekyll Island. And what is Jekyll Island? Do you know what Jekyll Island is?
I don't remember.
I know. I posted a link in the chat.
All right, good. Let me take a look at your link here. I'm glad you're bringing it up because that's an excellent book to read. I haven't read it, but it's like that thick. But I've seen so many summaries of it that I have a pretty good idea what's in the book, and I've seen interviews from the author of the book that I probably spent as much time listening to him talk about it than the time it would take to read the whole book. but excellent book, and there's a copy of it you can get on Amazon. And Jekyll Island happens to be off the coast of, is it Alabama or is it Louisiana? Which one is it? I think it's Alabama. Am I right? Anyway, Jekyll Island, you look
Gulf,
the location.
Gulf Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what used to be the Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah.
The puppet show just gets more interesting though. Anyway, so yeah, it's in the Gulf, and the creature of Jekyll Island, and who met at that time? There's about a meeting that took place on the island. Do you want to mention
I
some
don't
names?
remember the individuals, it's all the power brokers at the time.
J.P. Morgan,
Was
Yeah.
not on that.
Oh,
Rockefeller,
Oh.
Rockefeller, right?
All right. Anybody that you would consider an elite, American elite, they were there, and let me counter this to something historic that happened. That do you know what the final words of Andrew Jackson was?
Killed the bank.
On his deathbed. That's right. I killed the bank.
Oh, I'm listening to the bank.
Yeah. He was so proud of the fact that he killed the bank, right? Because there was something creeping up in his time that would have turned into the Federal Reserve, something like that. And he was so opposed to it as president of the United States. He was so opposed to it that, they tried to kill him. There was an assassination attempt on him, but unsuccessful. I think what happened that the gun misfired like 3 times, and then he went over with his cane and beat the man that would try to shoot him, right? With a cane.
Wow. Wow.
Andrew Jackson's an interesting character. I love his history, But yeah, he fought against it. But by the time that what was it, Roosevelt came in, and they just pushed it right through, the Franklin Roosevelt. They pushed it right through this whole Federal Reserve, and right behind it, the IRS. So it all started in 1913. That's when
The story of Jekyll
the
Island.
bankers succeeded at
He was
their
talking about Jekyll
their
Island.
plan. Jekyll Island.
It's about J.P. Morgan, and Rockefeller, and all that.
Yeah, so the birth of the Federal
Down
Reserve
there.
System, and then
Kind of put together the fucking current
if you go back to
banking
the early,
system. Still,
exactly,
you
go back to the early 1900s, and you look at
the
countries.
federal bank and the
Countries were very sovereign back then, but now, because of money, all the banks are now under the same Federal Reserve System. So, and a lot of people don't know that, So basically, there's just the head of the octopus is the Federal Reserve. Then the other central banks around the world, they work with the Federal Reserve. Anyway, they know that they're at the end of their rope, that they can't continue to just print money like they're doing and expect it not to end badly. Because there's lots of examples of what it looks like when it ends badly. And so they're under the gun now to change the whole system, guys. They're under the gun right now to change it. And they call it the Great Reset, and you've got your World Economic Forum, with all their little plants around the world that they want to do the Great Reset. And then that guy even wrote, the guy who was the head of that thing, he wrote a book called The Great Reset. That's their plan.
bronze.
Yep. And then if you go deep into their plan, they want to get inside your body. Okay.
I'm
They want to put some nanotech in there.
some
Okay.
chips.
And it's called transhumanism. So there's a whole plan there. Okay. There's a whole plan. And I think their plan is going to fail. At least in the universe I'm in, because I think we're kind of all going to end up in the universe that we deserve. So, but yeah, humanity needs to pull together, because we need a way to take care of ourselves financially without it costing us, all the blood, sweat, and tears that it has in previous generations. because it's only getting worse. Each generation is getting a deal that's less than the generation before it. So same hard work, less money kind of thing. And it just ain't working in that. And now they're at the point where they say, hey, AI's here, so you don't need to have a job anymore. But hey, how about we just give you a basic income? You can play video games all day. How's that sound? That's going to be the sales pitch. So,
Ace, I posted.
Don't forget the insects
which insects?
that they want us to eat.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yep. Crickets and whatnot. And believe it or not,
Lab meat, the lab grown meat.
yeah, your protein source coming from insects. That's actually not good for the human body, by the way. But yeah, they know that, by the way. They're not trying to help you here. Anyway, from their opinion, there's too many of us and too little of them, and they're a little concerned about that too. So they have plans about that too. But I see so many of their plans over the decades as I've watched their plans come and fail and go, come and fail and go. I'm no longer, I don't really have any fear what they're planning because I've seen too many of their plans fail in my lifetime. So the good news is they're on a failure streak, not a winning streak. But they've got their little puppet show still happening. And when enough of us wake up to the reality of what we're dealing with, we want to be a part of a community like this that kind of knows what's going on and wants to gather people for a way to work together to not have to be sucked into something we don't want to be a part of, right?
Mm.
The more of us that say no to
Yes. That's right.
having nanotechnology put in your body, the more of us that say no to that, they won't get away with it. They'll fail again.
No to the universal check, and you create a vehicle we can get out of it.
How many of you?
Well, not only that, a guy with a daughter, I've seen them advertise, "Are you gay?"
What?
11 years old.
Wow.
Try to put a questionnaire in front of a little girl on a in between little kids' video games on a phone.
Oh my God.
That's what made me go, what the?
Yeah, that's upsetting, right, Perry?
Oh, tell me.
I mean, you're doing your best as daddy to protect your little girl, and you see something like that sets you off. Yeah,
that's when my whole vote completely changed, and now I watch out for whatever they're. You're right, and I think the whole transgender thing they're really looking for an androgynous society,
right?
That will follow one, like you're talking, one master plan of their own bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. But the good news is they've been failing. They've been trying to pull off their little world government out in the open for many decades. It was supposed
Thank God.
It was supposed to happen in the 70s, by the way, and I was just a kid at that time. And that way, 1984 would have been a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you guys ever seen the book or seen the movie 1984? 1984, we should have been. There was supposed to be a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, but it didn't happen the way they wanted, right? 1980s went by, and it wasn't as bad as the book. 1984 came in,
right,
and it wasn't as bad as the book, So they have failed and failed and failed, and they're going to fail again. And all we got to do is just keep resonating at that, we believe in ourselves, right? So this is why belief in yourself matters, right? In the sense that you have to know that you have choice and you got will and you got free will, and really that's what's being attacked here. Because if they can insert technology into you, then they can then have a direct impact on something called free will, right? So you don't want to have technology, coming into you like that. We use technology. I'm sitting here, I'm touching a laptop and all that, but it's not inside of me. You know what I'm saying? But we are using technology, but the minute you put it inside of you, then someone else can take over, right? And that's kind of that should be protected, sacred ground. We should honor that. But I think most of you that I'm talking to right now are you understand that there's a concern here, and that the financial world is all tied into it, and And we're better off if each of us can live lives where, as long as we're doing no harm, we can live our lives as we want, each one respectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
With respect to the fellow man.
yeah, yeah. So we don't need to we don't need to be controlled as much as the people that think that they're controlling everything are trying to control everything, right?
Yeah.
So cryptocurrencies, a bit of a frontier, you know, a little bit of wild frontier, you know, and we're part of that. And you know, while there's, you know, the ability to, you know, pull together and experiment and try things, you know, we're gonna take advantage of that, because if we get the edge that we're looking for here, okay, then we can get big enough where our influence actually matters, right? So again, collective bargaining power. So when the collective bargaining power of pool funding is strong enough that we can do things with, you know, that matter. You know, we can say, you know, it's going like this in the world. We'd rather go like that, and then collectively we support it over here. We don't need to kill stuff. We don't need to.
Right.
We're very nonviolent in the approach here. There's nothing, and we don't have to be like, you know, so like concerned that you know, I don't know. Some people get paranoid. I went through my paranoia too, but the more of us need to learn how to use our voice, and the more of us that are singing from the same songbook, it's like, you know, freedom for all, and let love be the guide, you know, this kind of stuff, you know, and money will work itself out in the meantime, you know. So as long as we put first things first, it's all going to work out. Anyway, I wasn't planning this discussion, but I'm just being kind of led, you know, to speak out, and
Sure.
just kind of going with what I'm feeling. So
Appreciate it.
an interesting training today. Wasn't on my thoughts to do this, but I do want to appreciate Ken for bringing up the Jekyll the creature from Jekyll Island. If you don't know what that is, look into it, because a system that pretends to be good for the people, you know, there's so much evidence that you know, it is not, right?
Mm.
You can't keep supporting something that's just not. Go ahead, Ken.
I posted a video down there in the chat. It's a short synopsis of the book.
Perfect. That's what I like, little sound bites. So check it out, guys, because
We'll check that out.
because you and I, if we just start to realize we got power, right? As an individual, you got power, and when two or more come together, there's more power. Okay, hear me. Okay, for those that have ears to hear. Okay,
strength in numbers.
And then as we come together, as long as we resonate at do no harm, what good can we do? You know what I'm saying? That's where we got to be, right? Do no harm. What good can we do, right? Then I think that we can create together, and make pool funding something that the whole world will come into and say, great idea, right? I mean, if this ends up being perfect the way I think, you know, I envision it perfectly, we end up with just pure computer code running the whole thing, and it doesn't require any human, you know, to run pool funding. You know, we end up
really?
That's, if you look at Bitcoin, can you tell me where the HQ of Bitcoin is? Where's the headquarters of Bitcoin?
I don't know.
It's just pure code. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's really kind of the ideal situation. But whether we get there or not will kind of depend on all of us, on each of us, what we do and how we behave and work with each other in this venture we call pool funding. But in the meantime, people are making money. Okay, let's do a little survey here, just get an idea. You guys go ahead and go to the chat here. One, if you're just in one pool, 2 if you're making a daily payment in two or more pools, and 3 if you're making a payment in all 3 of the pools every day. So 1, 2, or 3, guys. 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. How many pools are you participating in right now? Gives you an idea what's going on. I see a bunch of 3s. I see some 2s, you know, an occasional 1. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. Okay. So there you go. So you guys are, you know, already operating in the hundreds of dollars, most of you, you know, daily with pool funding. And now we're going to open up the $1,000, right? So before you know it, you know, yeah. Just remember, guys, it works like this. Okay. We build and we build and we build, and then we end up with blossoms. Okay. All right. So you guys see that okay? Okay. So this yellow here is a blossom. What if everybody here in the green, what if they were paying $1,111 every day? Okay. And the people in the yellow here were paying $111 a day, right? What about that? That's one leg, one solid leg here in the $1,000 pool. Okay.
That's powerful.
That's where we're heading, guys. And then all you need is to have a blossom. It might be 6 levels down. It might be 20 levels down. It might be 2 levels down. It might be 1. Maybe you recruit somebody directly that they're the blossom. You know what I'm saying? But if you end up with 4 blossoms, 4 different legs that blossom, you're a millionaire. Okay? You're a millionaire. That's it. That's how you do it. And what's cool about that is it's only 2 minutes of your time every day. And by the way, we're setting things up so that you can just put money into a smart contract, and then maybe it might be 2 minutes a week. You're just loading up your contract, you know, with funds to cover the week, right? And cash flow like a king, and yeah, live the life you've always dreamed of, the life you frankly deserve. You know, with resources, you can you know live the life that you want. So, and we can achieve this better not by competing with each other, but by collaborating with each other. And we got to get more people here to these trainings. How many people feel like they wish so and so would have been at this training today? How many of you feel that way?
Oh yeah, always.
There's a couple.
You got some people in mind like, oh, they should have been at today's training today, right?
We're supposed to be here tomorrow night and Wednesday night.
Right. Do you guys know anybody else that talks like me? You know, don't you wish that they were in the training today? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're somebody that already talks like me and you're here in the training, you're in the right place. Okay. So, you know, like will attract like at the end of the day. And that's how it works. So I do appreciate each and every one of you for your contribution as really, you know, you're part owner of this thing, the way I look at it. You know, you got your piece and I got mine. And we're just going to grow from there. I'm going to figure out a way to make things better now that we're entering the $1,000 arena. You know, so I'm not done. I'm not done by any means where what I want to create here. But ultimately, we get it created, we fine tune it, we code it, and then everybody can be really happy about that. And if we have to slap it into a jurisdiction somewhere, we will, you know. But that might be something that we kind of collectively come together and talk about as well, you know, when the time comes. Because there's pros and cons to every decision, right? And so I just want everybody to know that. But realize, since we're really a community of volunteers, we come in knowing that people get in where they fit in. So that means that the risk is pretty much low, right? Because you're by choice, right? And you then can, you know, rise up to the level that you know, you're able to. And quite frankly, because of the odds of, there's so few of you now, and the world population is so big by comparison, that means the odds are in your favor. Okay.
Really
You're not dealing with,
good.
you're not dealing with saturation, in other words, right? So each of you should have no problem, with, gathering some blossoms, like I mentioned before. You should be able to gather, quite frankly, all of you should be able to gather four, no problem. Four
I think
blossoms,
so.
no
I
problem.
think so.
You just have to be believing enough into it, make the effort, keep showing up, and get more others to come join you on showing up. I think we could work on that. I think we could do a lot better there, guys. And tomorrow we have our opportunity meetings, a chance for us to expand again. And then the day after that, we're going to have the big event. Be ready for that. If you haven't practiced on how to use Pancake Swap, just swap BNB for USDT and then USDT back to BNB. Do that until you get to the point you feel like you're pretty fast at. You can do 25 cents, 30 cents at a time. If you want to play small like that, back and forth.
So
And-
BNB to USDT. Okay.
Yeah, just do that on Pancake Swap till you know you're fast at it. Because once they give that contract address, that's going out to all of you at the same time. That's when the race
Right.
starts, right? As soon as that contract address hits the screen, that's the beginning of the race. That's where the $5 go, and then after that it'll be $6, and then it'll be eventually 10 and 20 and so on. But it's gonna be a fast start. So it'll be fun. It's gonna be fun. But if you're unprepared, the only one that you can really point at would be yourself if you're not prepared for the event. And I'm sorry, I don't have any control over MetaMask. It should just be doing the trading in MetaMask, and it should be that simple, but it's not. So you're gonna have to learn how to use Pancake Swap. But eventually that won't be the issue anymore. It's just a temporary issue for now. So I think I
Sorry,
covered everything.
that $5 opportunity starts when? The second, you
It
said?
starts on April
Wednesday night.
2nd at 9:30 p.m.
Wednesday night.
So
9:30 p.m.
9:30 p.m. We'll put the Zoom link. I'll have Hunter make a special Zoom link for it. We'll have the Zoom link posted. Maybe we'll put one today. What do you think, Hunter? We create one for the second.
Yeah, I could do that tonight.
Yeah, just call it 4000x opportunity, something like that. Make people think about how big the opportunity is. So it's huge. And then you guys
Why is that happening
gonna
again?
find out. What's that?
I'm sure you explained that early on. I could ask Dale later. Or
Go ahead. Why?
why is it coming around at that time again? I think you explained that early on, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
we
can ask somebody else.
we kind of got settled into 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then Wednesday is usually a day we have no meetings, so I slipped it in there. A day that we normally don't meet. Wednesday.
So is this a one-time thing, or is this been
one
happening?
time event?
Yeah, that's it. It's huge.
Yeah, so it's one of two, and this is the second one. This is the last one.
Wow.
So I'm
Sounds
calling
like
it
an album.
our biggest event yet. We'll call it our biggest event yet. So
Cool.
it'll be fun just to show up, even if you don't come to play, you can come and watch. It should be entertaining regardless.
Come and play.
But to me, if someone says you can turn 5,000 into 20,000 and you might be able to see it happen, during the event itself, I'd come and play if I were you. Because
Definitely come.
most people can come with.
Didn't you say $5 into 20,000 before?
$5.
Yeah, that is correct. Because if you take $5 and multiply it times 4,000, that's 20,000.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. So anytime I go, anytime I say X, what did I say right before? So I'm saying 4,000X. With our other coins, we're right about 100X, 50X, 100X with the other coins right now.
That's fine.
But this one that we're launching, the launch is a 4,000X start date. And go from there.
That gets people's attention.
Yeah.
1,000.
You'd think so.
Yep. So, yeah.
You'd think it'd get their attention.
Well, yes.
It'd probably be less
get-
than $100 to move it from a 4,000x offer all the way to a, you know, to a 1,000x offer. So then it's not going to take much for it to move it to from 4,000 to 1,000. But 1,000x pretty good too, you know. So
So,
go ahead.
Ace, is $100 you think you're safe? Is that enough to bring for the USDT?
Anybody coming with anything to play with, you know, even under $100, they'll probably be happy that they showed up to the event and played, you know. Now again, you know, hold on to it. Think whatever you get, it's going to get 10 times bigger a year from now, right? You're gonna buy it now and hold it for a year, right? Knowing that a year you're going to get the bonus.
10x.
Just got to believe you're going to get the bonus, right? Believe you're going to be a millionaire. Believe you're going to get the bonus. Believe in yourself. Believe. All right. Because you're actually in a matrix. If you want to look at it, you're in a matrix of belief. You're gonna get what you believe, and if you believe everything bad's gonna happen to you, then you're gonna have a shitty life. Okay. But if you believe good stuff's gonna happen to you, you're gonna get a good life. And so this is why you gotta be selective on what you believe, right? Whatever you believe has a tendency to come true.
And have good intentions.
Yeah. And as long as you believe not to hurt other people, then you should live in a place where other people don't want to hurt you either, you know. So that goes both ways. Go ahead, Perry.
Sorry if this is going back over again something. The reason to get good at going back and forth between Tether and USDT and USD and BNB is
to know how the mechanics of how to do a trade on PancakeSwap, because it's not obvious. You send someone to PancakeSwap and say trade this, they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is at this point. So
yeah,
I'll have to find out.
And then go ahead and post that link again, Hunter, of the actual. We did live training and we recorded it to demonstrate how to use PancakeSwap. So put that link in, Hunter, into the chat now. Perry would probably be very interested in that link right now.
Yeah, I guess I'd seen it one point and I didn't know what it was, so it didn't.
Yeah, because you're gonna you need to understand how to, right? So it's one thing to come to an event, but if you want to be on the track race to, you know, with the runners, you know, you got to know what you're doing, you know, how to put one foot in front of the other, right? So if you don't know how to do that, then it'll be fun to watch. You'll have fun watching as a spectator, but you'll be pretty frustrated, like, oh shoot, I'm missing out.
I could have been in this.
No, that's not
one-time opportunity.
Yeah. How many chances like this are you going to get in a lifetime, right? Think about that. How many 4,000x offers are you going to get in a lifetime? Think about that, you know. Hey, Ken, got your hand back up.
Yeah, did you say we might be able to do this on the MetaMask wallet at some point?
Our experience has been MetaMask is just not working with things that don't have good daily volume on it, you know. So that's where we're finding out with MetaMask. And until we establish ourselves, I'm assuming the same thing will be true on this coin.
Whoa.
So there we go. So, you know, apparently you can do trades no problem with the $10 coin, which is the PFB, right? Using MetaMask. But if you want to trade PFI or PFS, and probably this new one, you're going to have to do it directly on PancakeSwap. And actually, you save a few cents, you know, in transaction fees by going direct onto the you know, where the liquidity is. The liquidity is not sitting in the MetaMask wallet. The liquidity is sitting on the PancakeSwap exchange. That's where the liquidity is sitting, resides there. So you should have no problem doing the trade there. You just got to know how. And you haven't figured out how to do it. No time like the present. This is a good reason to know how, to learn how. Can we all go to the site and do the grade as we are directed how to do it? Yeah, you could actually do trades. Like I said, you just need two coins. Trade between this coin and that coin. On the day of the event, you can be trading USDT for our coin. That's what you're going to trade. So you're going to be selling your USDT and buying our coin. So you can practice that by selling USDT and buying BNB, and then flip back around and then sell BNB and buy USDT. Just go back and forth a couple times until you get the hang of it. Look, it's not like you have to practice it, 100 times to be good at it. You practice it 2 or 3 times until like, oh yeah, this is easy, right? It really is easy. It's just if you look at the actual mechanics of your finger, what your finger is going to do, the job of your finger is pretty easy if you're doing it on a phone, There's nothing hard about that. It's just knowing what to click on and when to click on it and what goes next and where to put stuff, how to, where to put the contract address, stuff like that. So watch that video. Go to the chat right now, and Hunter put in the link again on his YouTube channel, and where we demonstrated how to do this. So you can watch the video, learn how to do it, and then practice it yourself between USDT and BNB, and then you're ready to go. The reason I don't want you to practice with PF coins, there's a notice right now on our website. Don't sell our coin. Okay. In the month of April, you don't want to sell any of our coin. There's a penalty associated. So, but there's no penalty, in trading back and forth between USDT and BNB. It's only the PF coins that you can't sell until May. All right. Keep that in mind. So be sure to grab that link, watch it until you get kind of the idea how to do it, then practice it yourself, and then you can be on the field, and when it says go, and basically as soon as I drop that contract address, that's go. And then we'll be looking at the chart, seeing what happens, from go. All right. All right. So good meeting, guys. There we go. We appreciate all that we had today.
Can I say, he and I got earlier in Karen's, our team earlier meeting, a gentleman used 2 monitors. A gentleman used 2 monitors to train with the video. To train on the swap. And he said, he had the video on the one monitor, and he was, he could stop it and start it, and then on his other device, he said he did it that way, and it was easy. He got it really quick instead of having to do it on the same device. When that going through the video.
Sure, yeah. For anybody who has that, availability, most of our members only have a phone, and so they got to figure out how to do it on a phone. But if I'm using a laptop, so it's not the two screen setup. But yeah, you can. I guess I could set up 2 browser windows. You could have a browser window to play a video. Yeah.
I'm setting up 2 phones because I've got 2 phones, but I don't.
Well, there you go.
So
there's an idea for everyone. Thanks for sharing that, Jeffrey. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
you shared with me.
Not bad. I hope you all take your best shot at getting 4000X. So whoever gets it, congratulations, right? Ahead of time. But even if you get 3500X or you get 3000X, wow, good going, man. And then even if you just ended up with 1000X, most people are like, holy cow. And most people in the world are thrilled with anything you say that you did 100X, right? Am I right? So, this is just outrageous what we're doing. And the event's bound to be outrageous, right? And going to be awesome. So again, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow for our opportunity meeting. The next day will be the event. And then the day after that, back to another one of our co-founder trainings. So we can then kind of debrief how things went in that co-founder training. All right, guys. Well, we can all unmute now and say good luck to everyone.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Ace.
Have
a good night, everyone.
Blessing night.
All right, good luck, everybody.
Night.
Thanks, Ace.